Hi guys, Togo here with a new video. In this video will be a talk about Arms Warrior because I have finally tested on live servers and we have no new gear to grind, so I'll be using that week to do the quests for like the new zone, but also test a lot of the classes and specs, and then I'll be trying to organize my warband pretty much into a more organized field where I have like mains, alts, and then the people I'm going to hide, like the classes I'm not going to play, the classes I still need level, for example, to have an alt of the same level of the same class. But I'm going to do that. But let's talk about Arms Warrior. So we did do a solo shuffle this like today, pretty much. You can see 4-6. We won 4, we lost 2. I'm gonna analyze the damage because that's probably the best way to analyze how the changes are for Arms Warrior. There is no surprise, since they did a lot of changes towards the damage from Arms Warrior. More Strike is now back on tap. It means that you are actually trying to more strike at every single occasion. So since more strike now is a standalone big damage dealing ability that doesn't need like some prep, it kind of reminds me on how it was used to play in Arms Warrior as an Arms Warrior in class expansions. Wherever you had Arms Warrior full rage, for example, or you have enough rage, you have more strike ready, you press more strike. You don't really care about the other buttons, but you really want to have more strike. And whenever you don't have more strike ready, or you don't have the rage or whatever, you press overpower to stack it up. You press your rend obviously to get the dots up, or you do thunderclap to spread the dots, which is also possible. You do a blade storm to get out of roots, for example, or to be more like free on your movement. You prepare a stun, maybe a demolish since you're playing Colossus, for example, once you have the stacks for it. But more strike is going to be your bread and butter. That is going to be the one that is going to deal a lot of damage at all times, but also that when you have time to do overpowers, Colossus Smash, Avatar, and you're deciding to do a more strike, you're going to deal significant damage. So I did 1.9 million normal hits, which is pretty big. Like in current standards of health, it is like more than 25% of the HP of someone. That is without counting the multiple bleeds, without counting the prep work of overpower, without counting demolishes. This is like literally 25%. This is like one round. I have multiple rounds. There are rounds where I do a bit less. For example, this one I did less, but we did still win. I did a 2.1 million normal hit, which is very satisfying. I think, is it busted? I don't think so. I think Arms Warrior is still like, I played in a Frost Mage Elemental Shaman lobby with a Fury Warrior. It is still like a slog to get onto the enemy, especially if you're like trying to CC, if you are going to charge in to get a fear, if you're going to do a Stormbolt on the healer instead of the DPS. It is still very hard to actually connect, but when you do, you actually do a lot of damage or deal a lot of damage. So that's what I really like about current Arms Warrior. Now, is it stronger than Fury Warrior? I have my reasons to believe that Fury Warrior is normally stronger than Arms. Now, in this lobby, the Fury Warrior was not really good. It is what it is. But as you may see, like more strike is always like 30% of my damage. Is it going to be something good for Arms Warrior to have like more strike to be a big portion of the damage? Personally, I prefer to have that than rend or deep wounds being like 20% of my damage. I prefer to have more strike to actually deal more strikes, which is mortal, which should be mortal, which should be significant. Overpowers being like interesting is also a good thing. I think that still is in the fantasy of Arms Warrior, like the sure to hit strike you can always do, which is overpower. And then demolish, since you're Colossus, you can always do a demolish prep, and every demolish is going to do around 3 million damage, depending if you're critting, if you're like single hitting someone, or if you're like multi hitting someone. It depends, but it actually does good damage. And then you have your executes, which are also significant whenever you're going to crit, or whenever you get like the good procs or whatever. So that's like something I really like currently. As you may see, like I'm showing you every single round, it is really between 25 and 30%. Like here, I imploded the mage pretty much. 2.6 million damage. Normal hit. Not even a crit. Unfortunately, I didn't crit too much. because like again, building crit is very random, unfortunately. You don't really do that. But yeah, Colossus Smash doing like 1 million normal hit, Demolish doing also just with one hit, 5 hits. With one cast, 5 hits, you get like around 2.77 million if you're not critting. Those are like normal numbers, but which I really like is that more strike is still on top, and that's is something I have tested in random BG, which I have tested in a solo shuffle, which I have tested in a duel. Like I have multiple instances where I feel like I'm playing an arms warrior, right? Uh, Between the more strikes actually hitting for a lot. Unfortunately, I never seem to crit. I wish I critted so it would be 3.5 million, something like that. But like again, I feel very warrior-esque whenever I'm like getting more strikes to do that much damage. Like you see, I have only did one overpower, so I didn't have like the double stack. I didn't like press like all the modifiers. I didn't have like the procs or whatever. I still did an avatar. I did a Colossus Smash into a more strike, big dam, and then into a demolition. That guy is just deleted. Like I can show you how did he die. That guy, he died through a more strike. As you can see. Do you see it? Last hit was a 1.92 million normal hit more strike. That guy was 27% HP. Like again, I feel really well in how it actually deals damage, and I like that. The same for demolish. It actually does some good damage since it got buffed by 20%, which is very noticeable. I think those are buffs that were needed towards arms warrior. Here, for example, 50% of my damage is Moro Strike. Like, that's literally, it's maybe too big, maybe like it's a one button class again, and that's not true because I did like executes, I did overpowers, but if you get procs over procs over procs and you have the rage for it and you have like the setup for it, you can actually deal some significant, some very good damage with just like your more strike, which should have been always this. It should never have been a setup class. It is not a setup class. Arms Warrior has never been a setup class. It should not be. I have to think about double overpower into a Colossus Smash, into Avatar to do the biggest, like, more strike ever. It should not be about that. It should be that whenever you can more strike, you will. If you can do the double overpowers, that's cool. But if you can actually do just the normal more strike rotation, you just do. That's something I really like, and I haven't tested Spear of Bastion, unfortunately. Like Champion Spear, excuse me, they changed the name multiple times, whatever. Because I feel like it's not really meta. It's like too easy to counter, very easy to see that you are like tethered. So obviously you're going to use your CD. While if someone is pressing Avatar Colossus Smash into More Strike, your reaction time is way lower, for example. So you're going to like way higher. So excuse me, lower, so you will not be able to react on that damage. So personally, Arms Warrior was not really into my like full main list. If I remember, like I did a full hybrid mains for this season, but those matches and that gameplay that I did this morning, I said like made me think more about why not warrior, right? So there is that. I tested the Arms Warrior. I like the damage spread. I think the intention of Arms Warrior dealing finally some good damage on More Strike without any like pressing of overpower or like the martial prowess or whatever is a success. Now, I have tested Slam. They buffed Slam again. I still think it is worthless. The truth is, a Slam has 20 rage, which is like 10 rage less than More Strike, but it does like 3 times less damage than a More Strike. Doesn't have the anti-healing property. It has no CD, obviously, but there's like no real redeeming factor around Slam. It should be that Slam is not. It should be something that you want to press because you have like a proc. If you have a proc for Slam, you want to use it. But it seems like right now Slam is like in a limbo where they don't really know what they want it to be. Like in PvE it's useless, in PvP it's useless, in every single content it's useless. So I don't really know what they want Slam to be. Maybe it should be back onto a cast time for some reason, where it actually deals some good damage, or bake it into overpower. I don't know. I don't want to do that as well, but like maybe make it strong. Every time you're going to do a blade storm, you get like a proc for slam, or every time you get a proc, you then have like to use slam to deal significant damage. I don't know. I don't think it should be like a rotational spell because more strike is already a very rotational spell. Like I'm going to show you one rotation again. It's like no surprise. It is like very strong. Current segment. I'm going to do that and put it maybe here. Why not? Why not here? And to like start a segment. Why not like this? I'm going to charge in. I do maybe double overpower into a Colossus smash, into an avatar, into a more strike. It does some good damage. 2.1k it actually does. Obviously you can always do your overpowers if you want to, and more strike. But whenever you can actually do a more strike, you should actually do a more strike. Like for example, here I can do a more strike, boom, and I didn't have like a double proc. Then you can do a blade storm, and you see my stacks is going up for my Colossus smash, right? So the go is like ready to be like online very soon. So once I have like the possibility to do a more strike, like double more strike maybe, it's going to be a lot of damage. Now you see in like single target where you're not going to get any damage, you do have like some rage starvation. But once you have like a big damage like go, you can do a demolish and it does like significant damage. With just that in mind, you are going to do a big go where you have a 10% reduction, like a damage taken with wrecked, and then obviously the damage is going to be very, very high. I think in PvE it might be not that good, but like I said, on a dummy, just on a dummy, so without like thinking about like kiting, thinking about being kited, thinking about having more rage because you're going to get more damage, so you will get rage from it as well. It's still 30% of my damage, and execute is for sure higher because it is on a low HP target dummy, so it will always have the possibility to do a execute. Then you have your overpower, and then obviously you have your demolish, which I casted only one, and it does 11% of my damage. And that is going to then give me more damage for more strikes into executes because you have like direct debuff on the enemy. So I really, really like that. I like rends and deep wounds to be low because I'm not playing a bleed build. And that's what I really am a bit annoyed about arms. It's not perfect, again, to end this video on that. It is not perfect. I still think Thunderous Roar is interesting, but in a vacuum. It should maybe be a thing for Fury or Warriors only, and put something else instead for arms. It's difficult because it's on the class tree, but I do believe like it's not really what you want from arms warrior. Even if I took Bloodborne, because I did take Bloodborne, even if you do take Skull Splitter if you want to, even if you take all the bleed builds, the bleed talents, it doesn't seem that good. So for now, I'm playing with Thunderous Roar because it is like safe damage every 45 seconds. It does like a debuff. It does 45 second CD, so why not? But if I could actually play with Champion Spear without like punishing myself, because literally it is punishing yourself, you can bait defensives because of that, so why not? But it's not really like the ideal spell that was and used to be. If it was a 1 minute CD, it could be really interesting because it could line up a lot with a lot of CDs. Now it does line up with Avatar, but is it like that interesting to go line up with Avatar? That's another issue. So that's pretty much the talk about Arms Warrior. I will test Fury Warrior maybe later today. I did also try the PvP talents. I like Dragon Charge in Battleground, like in Battleground Blitz or in random BGs. But in pure Soul Shuffle, I will never take it because I think Heroic Leap is way more useful to point at and directly be there instead of like having to charge and maybe like fail the charge, right? That's really annoying. What I like also is Storm of Destruction with like Demolish now works. So if you're doing Demolish, that target is going to be snared, so you have more of an easier time to land your hits. It also decreases their healing taken, so if for some reason that guy is like not having a more strike on them, it can be interesting as well. For example, if like I'm on a dummy, if I do a demolish here, it actually deals more wounds of 50%, which is always going to be quite good. Now I think it is kind of bugged on a dummy. I think it's always 50%. Like this one, it doesn't have Colossus Smash. It's also 50%, while it should be 25%. So that's an like dummy issue. I don't know if it's really going to be 50% in PvP or not, or like it's only with Sharpened Blade while it becomes 50%. So I don't know. I'll have to test it out. What else? Really quickly, I did test Berserker Roar. I really like it. It's better than the. It's actually better than the banner because it actually doesn't get broken, right? You cannot break it. It's like a guaranteed reduces the duration of the next CC. So nobody can break it. It is just there. It's a buff within 10 seconds. And for sure, you're going to reduce the CD of a incoming CC. You're going to reduce the duration of the incoming CC. It's also a 1 minute CD, so I like that. And that's like a flex point where you can say, look, I'm going to play with Shattering Throw, or look, I'm going to play with Berserker Shot, because you do need Berserker Shot for that. That's pretty much it. I don't really have a build right now going on. I might make a build for the start of the season. We'll have to see. But overall, I'm excited. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.